Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 47. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Happy New Year, my friends. I hope you had a wonderful holiday break and you are ready for the new year. So I have to be honest, I'm not technically recording this in the new year. It's coming out on January 2nd, which means I'm recording this before Christmas. It is the last thing I am doing before I am heading out and closing down the office for a week. And I hope you were able to do something similar. I actually just wrapped up my Life and Law workshop that I had just a few days ago. And there were so many great lessons, and I noticed so many people having similar issues. And I actually decided this would be great for everyone that is now in the planning mode and ready to, really just slay 2018. So today I want to share with you the top 5 mistakes that people make when creating their plans for the new year. What's going to get in your way and keep you from accomplishing your goals. So I hope that you are ready to do that. If you watched the workshop, if you attended that with me, this is still going to be relevant because when it comes to mistakes, sometimes we need to hear this over and over again. I know I do. So I think you'll still get benefit from it. So the reason I want to talk about mistakes as opposed to what you should be doing is because so many people, I don't want to say mess this up, but they just don't get it quite right. So research shows that 45%, on average, 45% of Americans set either personal goals or New Year's resolutions, whatever you want to call it. Each time a new year comes, we have this clean, fresh slate. About 45% say, I want to make some differences in the next year. And so they set goals. As you might imagine, it doesn't go well after that. So you have the intention, you have the goal, and then within 1 week, like literally 7 days, 25% give up. And give up's probably not the best way to describe that. It's probably more life gets in the way. We get in this holiday mode. Everybody's relaxed. We're not, most people aren't doing as much work as they would be throughout the rest of the year. And they have in their minds that suddenly this year's going to be different and that you're going to have time to spend on this. And I think what happens is you then get back into that work routine. Life gets crazy and you just don't have time to work on your goals. And they're harder than you thought they were going to be. And you're just like, I can't do this, right? How many of you have signed up for a gym membership at the beginning of the year and you go a few times and you're like, I'm out, right? I mean, I've done this with yoga memberships. I like the idea of it, but actually getting myself out of the house and over to the studio at an exact time doesn't always work out. So 25% really don't make it past the very first week. Okay. So we're on January 2nd. So you're at the beginning of this, but if you guys have set goals, a quarter of you, if you're going to follow statistics, a quarter of you will give up on those within a week. Okay. Then go out to the end of the first quarter, right? If you look at the first 3 months, how many people make it past the first quarter in terms of, following through, not just reaching your goals, but maintaining, right? 50%. 50%. So I do think it's interesting though that, you lose 25% in 1 week. But the other 25%, it takes a full 3 months before they fall off. But again, this goes back to life gets crazy. So 50% of you are likely not to make it past the first quarter. And so then what about the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter? Well, on average, only 8% achieve their goals. Only 8%. And so that's why I want to cover this today. That's why I want to cover what gets in your way. What are the biggest mistakes that people make that keep them from reaching their goals? And so I have what I think are the top 5, and I would like to share them with you today. All right. Number 1, their goals are not integrated. Their goals are not integrated. Now, this may not apply to the average population, but I realize that most of you are lawyers. And even if you're not a lawyer, you're still a professional, an entrepreneur, someone who is ambitious and, has a lot going on. Okay. So I think this is going to relate if you are listening to the podcast, whether you're a lawyer or not. We are now in a world where we are connected 24/7. And I think oftentimes lawyers, they set New Year's resolutions related to their personal lives, and then they just have their business plans for their careers, and they never combine the two. And I think that's a huge mistake because our lives are integrated. I don't know too many people who can just leave their work, at work and don't bring it home. Whether you're checking emails, you're doing work at night, or you're even thinking about it. It just all seems to be connected. Similarly, when you go to work, oftentimes, you might be leaving to, go to your kids' events or pick them up from school, or they get sick, or, you're having to make some personal calls while you are at work. Like, it's just, everything is connected at this point. It's hard to compartmentalize them. And I think, especially for women, because, not only do we have professional roles, we tend to do more in our homes as well. But I personally think the younger men, the newer generations of men, they do more as well. So not having integrated goals is a huge mistake, because if you're trying to force yourself to compartmentalize your goals in a life that's already integrated, it doesn't quite work. And even though you may have a vision for your life and you may have a vision for your career, if you don't ever stop and say, well, what does that vision look like combined? You may be trying to accomplish 2 totally different lives. And you're hoping that magically, right, at some point, they're all just going to connect and come together. You really have to look at that vision as a whole and say, how does my life look within that whole vision? How does my career look within that whole vision? How does it all come together, right? So step number 1, integrated goals. So when you start to think about your goals for the year, be sure that they are integrated. You are considering your goals personally and professionally. And if your personal goals don't match up or fit within your professional life, you need to consider that. And if your professional goals don't fit within your personal life, you need to consider that. Okay, so that is mistake number 1, or what I would like for you to do to overcome mistake number 1. All right, mistake number 2, trying to do too much. So for some reason at the beginning of the year, 2 things happen. One is we just feel this reset, right? With the brand new year, when the digits at the end change for the year, right? Like, it makes us believe that we have a clean slate. It makes us believe that anything is possible. And that is great. We need that in our lives. We need the ability to say, I can start over. But here's the other thing that happens. We tend to lose sense of reality. It is one thing to be hopeful and to give ourselves a fresh start. It's another to be delusional with our thoughts. And we all tend to do it. We think, oh, well, it's a new year and I'm just going to do this differently. We forget that maybe in the past we've tried it and we've failed, or we forget that we don't have as much time available as we would like. How many of you have in the past, when you're setting New Year's resolutions or you're looking at goals for the year, you say, I want to do all of these things differently. I want to read more books. I want to be home for dinner at a certain time every single day of the year. I want to clean out my closets. I want to eat healthier. I'm going to start exercising again. I'm going to make sure that's a regular routine. I'm going to really set aside time each and every week to do business development. We create all of these things in our mind that we're going to fix, right? And if it was that easy, right, we probably would have done it before. And if we've had these thoughts before that we're going to change all of these things and we've not followed through, then that should be a huge red flag that you can't do all of that this year, right? So this is what I see. People bite off way more than they can chew. They overcommit and they'll tell me, well, I have to change these things. I really want to change these things and I'm all in. And my message to you is just this. I hear you. I love that you want to change those things, but you're a really, really busy person that probably can't change that much at once, no matter how bad you want it. Okay. And you're like, no, but I know that I want it this time and I'm going to go for it. Okay. You can do that. You're an adult. You have complete control over your life. But I see this over and over again. I've yet to see a client that says, I'm going to do it all. I do see clients come back and say, you were right. I should not have done that much. And here's the thing. The reason why I know this is because I have the tendency to do this. I am just like you guys. My tendency is to say I'm going to do all of these things. And so I've learned over the years that I really have to hone in and focus. And that's when I can skyrocket my results. And you guys know I'm super competitive. I'm very focused on results. So I'm constantly refining my system to make sure that I can achieve what I want. So if you have a lot of goals, whether you're calling them goals, resolutions, anything else on your list for the year, just know that the more you have, the less likely you are to achieve them. And some of you may say, well, I really want to do these two things this year. Great. Why don't you focus on one first and then focus on the second later? And I know you want it all at once right now, but the likelihood of you being able to keep up that momentum for two different things that are going to be radically different and require a lot of time in your life, I want you to be realistic about this so that you can set yourself up for success. Okay. I do want you to start really big. I want you to start large, but then you got to narrow it in. You've got to really focus. So during the workshop that we just did, it was a 6-hour workshop because this takes time, but we spent 2 to 3, it was probably 3 hours on the process that I use to go from all of your ideas for what you want for the year to really narrowing it down to figure out what are my true priorities for 2018 that I want to guarantee success, right? Like, absolutely, I know I'm going to achieve those. So take your time with it. Make sure that you are picking exactly what is most important to you. Mistake number 3. Focusing too much on your weaknesses. Okay, there is a tendency for us with each new year to say we're going to be better people. And again, I'm all for that. Yay to better people. I want to be a better person too. But sometimes when we're setting our goals, when we are, coming up with our resolutions, it's all about fixing us, right? Like we want to fix ourselves. If we could just fix ourselves, we'll be happier. And I caution you if that's where you're going with your goals and resolutions for the year, because it's not going to bring sustained happiness. And 2, you're more likely to fail. And you're more likely to fail because 1, it's going to be harder. There's a reason why it's your weakness. But 2, it just doesn't have positive energy around it, right? Like it's focused on what's wrong with you, or what you think is wrong with you. And so we tend to get really frustrated and we feel defeated, and then we give up on our goals quicker, right? So I would rather you say, what do I want in my life, right? What do I want in my life? What would really bring me a lot of joy? And it could just be an extension of something that you're already doing. And here would be an example. Maybe you've already been speaking locally, right? So maybe you've been speaking at your local organizations, maybe some local CLEs, and you enjoy it. You're good at it. And you think that really honing those skills could help you, professionally, and maybe give you a wider audience in terms of, maybe you're in-house and you're thinking that you want more opportunities. And part of that is being seen. So maybe your goal for the year is getting some national speaker opportunities. So you're on national panels at large conferences where you might be seen. That is an extension of something that you're already doing well and that you're good at. To me, that is a great goal. As opposed to that same person saying, this year I'm going to get into the office earlier because I know if I get into the office earlier, I think I'll be more productive in my day. And you've never gotten to work, early in your life, maybe 2 times in 10 years. Like, that you are not a morning person. That you struggle to get into the office early. When you say, my goal for the year is I'm going to get into the office 30 minutes or an hour earlier, you are setting yourself up for failure. You have noticed a weakness that maybe others have noticed as well. And you think that that's going to solve all your problems. The truth is it's probably not even going to make that big of a difference. And it's going to be so hard for you to succeed at that because that is not really a goal. It is habit change. And that is a whole other conversation. So many of us think that changing habits are resolutions and our goals, and that's really, really difficult. Okay. So what I would love for you to do when you are setting your goals and your resolutions for the year is being realistic and trying to just extend what you're already great at, as opposed to trying to do something that you struggle with and you're terrible at. Okay. That said, there is nothing wrong with trying to implement habit change. And there are ways to go about doing that. And if you really want to incorporate it into your goals or resolutions for the year, just be as realistic as possible. Okay. If you are never on time, don't say that you're going to get in. Let's say that you on average get there between 9 and 9:30. If you say you're suddenly going to get in there every single day between 7:30 and 8, that's a terrible idea. If you normally, again, get there between 9 and 9:30, then maybe for the first month or the first quarter, your goal is to get there at 8:45. Like, set yourself up for success. If you're truly talking about habit change, you're going to have to take small steps. Health and exercise, that's a huge one. Trying to think that you're suddenly going to show up to the gym every single day and do these hour-long workouts is not realistic. So again, look at where you are and just be realistic about it. So even if you're trying to address your weaknesses, do those in small baby steps so that you can have some wins and so that you can really build upon that. But I would love to see you focus on goals that simply extend your greatness. And in that same vein, I should also say that a lot of people set goals around things that they think they should be doing. Either it's pressure from, your firm or your company or the legal industry as a whole. Maybe it's pressure from society, your family. And I just want you to check in with that and be honest. Is this something that you truly want, or are you only trying to change things and set goals in order to meet the standards or expectations of those around you? Again, same thing's going to come up. You're going to have a much harder time reaching those goals. And 2, it's not going to bring you sustained happiness. So that is mistake number 3. All right. So when we move on to the last 2, I actually switched the order because so many people in my workshop, they were getting tripped up by this. So I'm going to try to approach it in a bit of a different way here on the podcast. So mistake number 4, it's not following through or honoring your calendar. I have a client and she said that she was going to honor her calendar in 2018. And I loved that. I told her I was going to steal that phrase. So I just did it. Not following through or honoring your calendar. For many of us, we set these goals and we have great intentions. We want to reach them. We want the results, but we don't make it a priority to actually focus on them. And this is especially true with professional goals. It's so hard when you are just putting out fires. You're answering phone calls and emails and new cases come in, new matters come in, and then you've got new admin stuff, a new committee, a new project. and there's never any time left for you and your goals. And if you're not going to make them a priority, if you're not going to follow through, don't even set the goals in the first place, because what's the point? What's the point? I mean, you're just setting yourself up for failure and frustration. And only you can do this. No one is going to carve this time out for you. Even if you ask your family or your friends or your colleagues and you say, I'm going to do this, I need you to support me. They're not going to. Maybe they will a little, but the truth is, we all have our own needs top of mind. And we also know that if you are a people pleaser and you do everything for everyone, and that's probably everyone listening to this podcast, people subconsciously take advantage of that. I mean, you're a helper, and they know that in the past, when you've said something, if they ask you to do something different, you do. And so they just don't respect your time the way they would others, because they know that you're going to bend your own rules, right? So you have to get really strong this year if you want to reach goals and carve that time out. You have to honor your calendar. And again, you have to be in charge of that. No one else is going to carve that time out for you. And no matter how busy you are, you've got to do it. So if you struggle with that, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to episode 3 related to the priority matrix, taking back your day, episode number 8, why saying yes means saying no, and episode 33, time management with Cindy Sullivan. You really got to make sure that you are following through. And part of following through and creating time for yourself means that you are actually setting aside the time to do that. So in my workshop, I went through how do you set up your projects and your tasks. If you don't already have a planning system in place that is working for you, one of the ways to make sure that you carve out that time and you're following through is having a planning system. And I'll share at the end a new planner I'm coming out with and how you can maybe get access to a planning system for free. But if you've got one that works, follow that. But you really do need to make sure that you have that in place. Otherwise, if you're just relying upon your willpower, it probably isn't going to happen. Okay. Mistake number 5. Here we go. The last one. Assuming that willpower is enough. Assuming that if you just put it in your schedule, it will happen. So in the process that I have people follow, the second step is strategy, developing a strong strategy and identifying the key performance indicators that are going to allow you to track your progress. And a lot of people got tripped up in my workshop on this because they were identifying their strategy to reach their goals and their vision. Their strategy was simply to calendar things. And I challenged them, and I'm going to challenge you too if you think that's going to work for you. Obviously, having that planning system is critical. I mean, I just told you that was mistake number 4, not having that follow-through system, not having that planning system. But that is a tactic. That is a tactic. That is not your strategy. Because if it was just a matter of calendaring things, you would have already done them, okay? You need a strong strategy. And oftentimes the reason why we say, oh, well, if I just schedule it, it will work, it's because sometimes it's difficult to think through the strategic piece. And lawyers are great at strategy and problem solving for others. As soon as it comes to yourself, 1, you're personally attached, but 2, it's just a little like it just doesn't feel the same. And so you're like, oh, I'll just do it. I'll handle it. It's going to get done. No big deal. But you've got to think that through. If you don't have a strong strategy for actually achieving your goals, then you're probably going to fail. And just a super quick example would be, let's say that you want to lose weight, right? And so if health, and the reason I say that is because so many people put health and exercise as a goal for the beginning of the year. If you just say, okay, well, I'm just going to calendar to go to the gym. Well, how do you know that 1, going to the gym is the best strategy for you? And 2, what are you doing when you get to the gym? How do you know that whatever it is that you're doing is the best strategy for you? What I learned in my weight loss journey this year, for those of you that know me or you've just kind of seen me, I've lost 20 pounds and I have tried for many years different things and it's not worked for me. And so this year my strategy was to hire someone. My strategy was, I can't figure this out. Even though I've tried Weight Watchers, even though I count calories, I've used the apps, I've had personal trainers, I've done different things. This year I decided I was going to hire somebody. And I did exactly what they said. For 30 days, I did exactly what they said, whether I agreed with it or not. And there was only one thing I didn't do, but I was honest with her on the front end. And it made all the difference in the world because she pushed me to do things that I said, well, that won't work for me, right? And I always tell people, don't say that. Again, I give advice based upon my own issues. So she was telling me to do certain things and not do other things. And I was like, I can't do that. And she was like, I'm going to help you. We're going to work through this. You can do this. And we talked through like what has worked in the past and what hasn't. And we came up with a system that indeed worked for me. And the problem is we often think that the strategy piece is just obvious, right? Like just go to the gym, just count your calories. Well, what if that's actually not the best strategy for you? What if it's a little bit more nuanced? What if you could have more success if you focused more on your strategy? And I think a lot of people skip over this step because they don't know the perfect strategy. And because they can't get it perfect, they just do what they think they know, right? So definitely spend time on this. And, I'll also say, this is where if you are trying to do something that you've tried before and it's not worked, or you know that you don't know the best strategy and you don't want to spend 6 months trying to figure it out, hire help, hire the nutritionist, hire the personal trainer, hire the time management consultant, hire the person that's going to come in and help you organize your house or clean your house, hire the business development coach, hire the speaking coach. And, I'm always saying invest in yourself. And I get that that may sound, easy for me to say because I want people to invest in my services, but I hope you hear that I'm saying invest in a lot of other people's services too. It's a huge shortcut. I get that we're always trying to save money and we think we can do things our own way, but so many times we don't have the best strategy and we need the help. In the same way that people need to be hiring lawyers and not doing it on their own, right? How many of you have that pet peeve that people won't invest in lawyers? They try to do it all on their own. The same is true for you. If you need help on the strategy, if you need help even on the execution, please invest in yourself. Hire that piece out. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Okay, so a quick recap. Mistake number 1, not integrating your goals to match your overall vision for your personal and professional life. Mistake number 2, overcommitting, setting too many goals and trying to achieve them all at the same time. Mistake number 3, focusing too much on your weaknesses or trying to fix the things that you think others want you to. Mistake number 4, not following through or honoring your calendar. And mistake number 5, not having a strong strategy. If you could use help as you are moving forward with your plans for 2018, the workshop is completed. We did that on December 20th, but the video replay is available until January 10th. So if you would like to follow along with all the prompts, get the workbook. It is 6 hours, so you're going to want to set aside a day. You can still get it. It's heatherjoyhubbard.com/2018 plan. And I will take you through step by step how to narrow down your goals, how to align that vision, how to get that strong strategy in place, come up with your key performance indicators that you're going to be tracking, setting clear goals, when you're going to do them, putting them through stress tests, reality checks, and then coming up with your projects and tasks and that entire system. So by the end of the 6 hours, you will have a plan in place, including action steps and how to actually follow through throughout the entire year. So on that planner piece, I think some of you know I am developing a planner, and the Life and Law Planner will be coming out in fall 2018. but we are finalizing the templates now before it goes to the manufacturers for production. And I would like your feedback. So if you love planners, if you have a great system, but would just like to see mine and give me feedback on where you think I could improve, or if you're terrible at this and could really use some help, I would appreciate your feedback as well. So we are doing this in a private Facebook group. If you are interested in joining that, it's absolutely free. Just shoot me or my team an email at support@heatherjoyhubbard.com and just say, hey, would like to join that free planner Facebook group so that I can give you feedback. But please know that being in the group does require that you provide feedback. If you just sit in there and never give me any info, I will remove you, not because I don't like you, but because that is what that group is intended for. So feel free again to shoot me an email, support@heatherjoyhubbard.com. Just let me know you want in and we will get you a link to join that Facebook group. Again, that's going to be limited. So really just looking for people that are super interested and really want to help give feedback on that. All right. Happy New Year. I hope you have some amazing goals for 2018 and that you reach each and every single one of them. I only want to see you successful and happy. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week. For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.